potential for strong winds or even 1-inch size hail might impact Briscoe County here during the next hour. And so that's one reason we're letting you know about that. And further east, thunderstorms here are out of our viewing area. And you look at the speed of that, it looks like it's tracking fairly rapidly. Turkey looks like it'd be around 11 o'clock, maybe 10:48 at Kittiquay, and the Silverton area about 10:30 as well. So a very intense thunderstorm there. This one's not tornadic, but it's potentially producing winds of 60 miles an hour, maybe some 1-inch size hail. So a thunderstorm warning in effect there. And warnings extend into the Panhandle all the way up around the canyon and areas north and northeast of Hereford. So severe weather there. One lone severe thunderstorm, a very intense one in Yoakum County, edging into western Terry County. And again, basically because of the rotation, the National Weather Service in Lubbock issued a tornado warning on that. And you can see here there still appears to be, even just on the general pattern and rotation indicated from the Doppler radar image, there's still somewhat of a rotation with that. And that continues to move generally southeast. So it's about to make its way into the western areas of Terry County and continues to go south. Folks in Denver City, don't be concerned about that. You do have this secondary area of a heavy thunderstorm here. May have some hail associated with it, but we haven't had a chance really to check on that. Our focus is on the rotation here. Very intense rain in the Plains community along 214 where it intersects 380, and then rain all the way back to Tatum, New Mexico there is tapering off. So this is one cluster that has moved all the way from eastern New Mexico into the west and southwestern South Plains, continues to work its way into western Terry County. Some of that impact will hit Brownfield, but if this rotation stays the same, you can tell from the polygon, it's going to work its way into the southeastern corners of Yoakum County and the southwestern areas of Terry County. And I haven't seen anything. I know you're on a chat line there, Shania. Do you see any new comments there or hail indications or anything?
No, we haven't gotten, the Weather Service did get an update, but that was just them saying no new updates on this Yoakum County storm. Area of rotation is on track to cross Highway 380 about 10 miles east of Plains. So you were exactly right earlier when you were saying that the rotation has now made its way east of the Plains area. They just redrew that polygon to make it a little bit more isolated, not covering such a wide area as of right now. But that's where that concern is, east of the city of Plains, and that storm motion still has a lot of good rotation on it.
That's true. Thanks, Shania. I appreciate that, and I'm glad they've kind of pared this down a little bit and taken the folks' planes. You guys can relax now. In Denver City, you don't have to be concerned about that. There's still potentially severe thunderstorm headed your way. Notice the rotation still occurring with that storm, but again, notice that's on the leading edge of this storm at this particular time. It's not in the classic position of back in the southwestern areas of the storm. We'd be much more concerned. But again, anytime you have some definite rotation and you see it here just crossing 380, you have to be concerned about that, whether it might spin up something. And there may be some very strong winds in that general area. And it looks like there may even be a little bit of hail within the boundary where that rotation is. Notice that, and that has enhanced a little bit. In other words, a hail size may be increasing along 380 there. We'll watch and see if the Weather Service comes back with any additional information about that or not along 380. And it's generally east of Plains where this is occurring right now, and along 380 and back to the western areas of Brownfield. So it's not a threat to Brownfield right now, but I did mention a few minutes ago, it might become a threat to the community of Tokyo, just west of Brownfield, and especially the severe thunderstorm warning part, whether or not the tornado potentially could, tornado warning I should say could, but I should emphasize when I say that there is not a tornado with this, but there's rotation that could lead to possible development. So that's why the warning's in place. But if you're in Tokyo, just remain alert at this point. We'll continue to update you, and keep in mind that KCBD First Alert weather app. If there's updates or new warnings, that's going to come out for you and the information. And you can also watch the storm there, have a good idea of how that storm is tracking in terms of distance, and continues to make its way on to the east and southeast. And I guess, you know, Shania, you might put a tracker on there if you can, and we could see if it'll show up Tokyo. You may have to broaden the track out just a little bit, and then we could give those folks a better idea when that storm might actually impact them in Tokyo, and also for the folks that are to the south and southeast of this particular thunderstorm. Right now it's crossing Highway 380. Behind that system, nothing really to be concerned about. It looks like the hail may be diminishing back here, but there's still a warning northwest of Denver City and a track of that storm. If you put it on that, it looks like Wellman around 1020. Newmore and maybe even the O'Donnell area if it continues to hold together on a long-term track. I think the actual cluster of thunderstorms likely will make their way all the way down generally on that track. The question is whether or not the rotation continues to go along with that storm. We're hoping that portion of the storm, we hope, diminishes, and we just have to deal with the fact there may be very strong winds of 60 miles an hour or more, or potentially some 1-inch size hail or larger. And again, I don't think there's any indications yet of any large hail at this point. Is there, Shania? I know you got a closer look at chat. And
yeah, we actually just got an update, as you were saying, that the rotation is weakening, becoming a little bit more broad as it approaches the Yoakum-Terry County line. The Plains area is in the clear, but they are going to keep the tornado warning for the time being for eastern Yoakum County and western Terry County. So as of right now, the good news from that message is that the Weather Service is saying that they're seeing a weakening trend within the rotation associated with that storm, but they are going to keep that warning on it as it progresses off to the southeast into the Terry County area.
All right, thanks, appreciate that. I'm glad you're on there with the chat there, and eventually I'll get mine operating out here shortly, and that way we can work a little together a little bit more effectively. But Terry County right now, you just have a warning in this far west and northwestern area, obviously where the rotation has been occurring with this thunderstorm. That's the area we continue to watch in case there's any potential development or maybe brief spin-ups, as you might call it there. And you can see again there may be some hail potential within that core as well. And these thunderstorms can produce at least 1-inch size hail, even larger. In addition to that, they can also produce those wind gusts easily 60 to 70 miles per hour as they're tracking. And if you watch, Shania has put that in a time lapse so you can watch what the Weather Service has been watching, the rotation as it moved in from New Mexico into the west and northwestern areas. Looking at the red and green, and I know it's jumping down a little bit, but you can see just some rotation associated with that. Now, there'd be more concern again if it were in the south or southwestern portion of the storm, but anytime there's significant rotation like has taken place with that earlier, you want to make sure that you alert the folks. So that's why the Weather Service went ahead and put a tornado warning out, and that's why we're covering the programming at this particular point so we can keep you up to date on that. This is well east of Plains. Fortunately, there's still rain falling in Plains, might even be some small hail there. Primarily, it's going right along the county line. So this is going to be back over in Yoakum County, this is going to be in Terry County, and then back over towards Brownfield. And I'm not sure why radar hasn't showed up Tokyo, but I know it's in this general area here of Terry County. And there's Gomez. Gives you an idea, just so that for the folks that live west of Brownfield, just to give you a general idea of where everything's located. And this is the community of Wellman down in this area right here along 385. So Wellman, Gomez, you guys are probably in the general path of this thunderstorm, which is severe, and hopefully the rotation will decrease, but you're also in the path of that rotation as it works its way in that direction. And we have viewers down in Seagraves. Just to let you know what is going on here. It looks like the Weather Service probably down in Midland has issued a thunderstorm warning for the area down in that region south of Denver City. So, and again, this is Yoakum County here, Gaines County here, and there is Seminole. So this thunderstorm, look at it, has intensified a little bit further south and southwest. Likely some hail with that, and maybe winds of 60 miles an hour. That's working its way towards Hobbs. I know we have viewers there. Looks like it's in the Lovington area. It's making its way generally, I'm estimating south to southeast based on what I see. Working its way possibly could impact Seminole. This storm here is more likely to impact maybe the Seagraves area unless it changes and goes a little more east. And if I put my hand there, you can see it looks like it may be going almost a little bit more to the east and slightly southeast as it tracks in that region. But here's that area. Looks like the rotation right there is just maybe along 380, moving right along the county line there, both Yoakum County and Terry County. And again, there's some indications there may still be some hail associated with that portion of where that rotation is, and that is still west of Brownfield along 380, tracking generally towards Wellman. So if you live in this area, the western areas of Terry County, that is, you may want to bring those vehicles in if you can, and make sure you've got items that are outside that would be affected by winds of maybe 60 to 70 miles an hour. We haven't confirmed that, but that's what would be potential with this. Then you can get that, all those items protected at this point. You got plenty of time to do that, and you can remain alert, obviously, in case that warning continues. We're hoping that it will be canceled, but right now it continues because of some rotation with that storm. And you can see the area of hail right here. And again, this is literally along 380. Emphasis again for 214 going into Plains, the Plains community. Not much going on there, but just heavy rainfall at this point, probably welcome rainfall. In addition to that, all the way back to the west, there may be still some strong winds in areas with this thunderstorm, maybe winds of 60 miles an hour or more. This is well north of Denver City, as you can tell on our Doppler radar, and this is well to the west of Brownfield at this point in Wellman. And anything new over there? I'll just take a look there. Shania, I saw you looking at the chat line.
Yeah, we did get a quick update. No reports of any damage in Yoakum County, but they have had reports of a few power outages. So still a very strong storm. Of course, if y'all do have any reports of any type of damage, please let us know. But as of right now, the Weather Service is reporting that they haven't heard of any damage besides a few power lines being down and causing a few power outages. So just keep that in mind if you do have friends and family within the Yoakum and Terry County areas that they may be without power. Hopefully they have their cell phones charged and those things like that. John, I'll actually take a second to bring up some of the tips that we like to give when we do have those tornado warnings. You want to make sure you're getting inside of the middle of a building or, excuse me, middle of your home, middle of a building. You're trying to get to the lowest point within the building or home as well. Stay close to walls. You want to avoid being near the windows. Get underground if that's possible. If you don't have a basement or something like that, you're trying to be at the lowest point of the building, and make sure you're covering yourself up with pillows, blankets, helmets, mattresses, things like that, just to keep your body safe. Again, I just wanted to give those reminders. We don't actually have a tornado on the ground. This warning is only for the broad area of rotation, but just to remind everyone on kind of what to do when you are in a position where there could potentially be a tornado making its way towards your location.
Update tonight. Again, you can see the storm here, and we'll see. Yeah, you can still see some indications of a rotation swinging around with that just along 380, and it's moving all the way down now into the southwestern portions of Terry County. It won't be too long till it's out of Yoakum County. We'll watch and see, though. We're waiting to see if they're going to extend that or maybe even cancel that. But if you look back southwest, you can see a new severe thunderstorm. Looks like just east of Lovington. This is west of Denver City. The track on that looks like the polygon indicates it's going to go more southeast. So it looks like it's missing Lovington. So maybe it will miss Denver City as well. But it's still going down into Gaines County. That storm could be headed towards the community of Seminole. Maybe some hail, at least there's some hail indications where they ride down, maybe winds of 60 miles an hour as well. This particular thunderstorm still working its way gradually into the western areas of Terry County, west of Brownfield. By the way, Lubbock just to the north here. We're not involved in this storm unless there's some additional development northwest. We have a few spotty showers west of Lubbock over in Hockley County, what that zoom out indicates there. Also some activity around sundown, nothing around Morton. We may see some additional activity firing up here, but really two primary clusters. This one here from Yoakum County back over to Terry County. And if you'll notice, it looks like the thunderstorm warning has expired in the Plains area. Just that one area of rotation, they're keeping the tornado on that, tornado warning in effect on that. For possible development, there has been no confirmed tornadoes with this or even funnel clouds. We're talking about the Weather Service issuing a tornado warning just because you see the flow of the winds, a circular pattern going into the storm and exiting the storm. And that's what gives you that general rotation. It's a broad area of rotation, and that is working its way western areas of Terry County along Highway 380. So once we want to watch there may be some very strong wind gusts associated with this, and it may be the winds with that that's caused some power outages in parts of Yoakum County, maybe even around the Plains community. So that may be a case that it impacts some power outages or creates those in the western areas of Terry County. And that's all speculation of what might happen with this storm at this point. It's producing hail, producing strong winds, producing heavy rainfall. It is not producing, as of the last few minutes, a tornado, but it does have rotation associated with it. And here's the shower storms here. I guess we can jump to the north right quick since we're in kind of a holding pattern on this storm, Shania, or something new?
Yes, we are getting a new warning for the Terry County area. So I think you were exactly right talking about how you did think that there looked like there was some hail starting to develop within the center of that storm system. They just came out with a new warning for this storm system. Up until 10:45, the storm motion is still southeasterly at around 30 miles per hour. Quarter-size hail is the current hazard with the 60-mile-per-hour winds. But you're right, John, we can take a look at some of those storms that are firing up in the northern portion of our viewing area.
All right, thanks there, Shania. That was a great timing on that update, but obviously Brownfield, you're in a severe thunderstorm warning in Wellman and Gomez as well. So as Shania mentioned there, winds possibly 60 or more and possibly 1-inch size hail or larger. You notice there's a little bit of a line trying to develop here now from Littlefield along 385 back into southwestern areas of Hockley County all the way down into Yoakum County. Severe thunderstorms are east of Dimmitt now in the Tulia area along Interstate 27. Those are not severe yet. They may become severe in the Lamb County area and west of Plainview. I do see some indications there, at least with the color gradient on our radar here. Maybe some hail anywhere between 194 and Highway 70. Looks like the storm may have just passed over the Olton community there, clear of Spring Lake and Earth and Sudan this time. But that storm is tracking towards Plainview, but it's not in a warning as of yet. We'll let you know if that happens. But there is a warning, as you can see, Swisher County, that thunderstorm moving over the areas of Tulia. And in this case, you're just concerned, and we're just concerned about the fact there may be winds over 60 miles per hour. There may be hail of 1 inch in diameter. Your typical base severe thunderstorm warning, in other words, for that area. And I still think that it's going to work its way potentially into the areas of Briscoe County. And you can see the cluster extending further north towards Amarillo. That entire band is making its way to the east. There's some upper level impulse making its way across the panhandle northern areas, giving some lift to this atmosphere. And that's why these storms are firing off, and that's why they're tracking on to the east. And you can expect these storms, by the way, to continue off and on and work their way likely off of the Caprock and onto the east. So there may be showers and storms continuing for parts of the South Plains off and on till midnight or even after. Obviously, they're going to be working east, maybe southeast. Some of the individual storms may be going a little bit more to the northeast. Looks like they've chopped down the coverage area a little bit down here on this, again, the tornado warning, very isolated where that rotation is indicated, and that's going to be along 380. Looks like there's some hail in that pocket as well. That continues to rotate right in that general region. No tornado, no reports of funnel clouds or even spin-ups. I'm not sure how many storm trackers we have down in that area, but if you're in a safe area, first of all, and you've seen anything, or you have any photos or video, please upload that to kcbd.com/first alert. As soon as we see that or have that information, we'll pass it on to the National Weather Service, and we can also pass it on to our viewers. Still see some green though, and you still see the red indicating the rotation right there. It really is just tracking along 380, maybe drifting a little bit southeast. So concerned, I think, about the fact I am with the strong winds associated with that potentially than anything, and also some hail associated with that particular area of that storm. Because you see some other areas of winds and the wind patterns further back and even down southwest, and that's west and southwest of Denver City. Doesn't look like it's a threat to the community, but obviously the storm itself is going to work its way all the way down into Gaines County at this time. And I know we're still covering America's Got Talent, but this is a key situation with rotation in the storm. That's the primary reason we're covering programming right now, is because of the threat, whether this might cause a spin up or possible development of a tornado or anything in the way of very strong winds. That's our biggest concern. That's along 380, and that is west of Brownfield. That is working its way southeast, headed for 385. All the communities in this area of Wellman, back up around Tokyo, and then possibly the Brownfield area. You guys are in a thunderstorm warning. Otherwise, it's mostly showers up around sundown, some activity back up in Hockley County, trying to get developed there. A broken line of storms, not much organization in here, fortunately, for any severe activity, but you can see this back in the area around Levelland and maybe back down around sundown. Still have storms approaching Plainview, and you get the idea that'll continue. If that fills in, obviously, we're going to see some storm activity coming back into Lubbock as well. Right now, a little too far to the west to see, but that is trying to develop a line of these scattered thunderstorms as they move on east and southeast predominantly. Speeds anywhere from 20 to 30 miles per hour, most of the storm activity. And If I step back, you'll see nothing really going on to our east or southeast or along the Cap Rock, anything such as that. Anything new over there, Shania, or I saw you stepping over and looking? Doesn't appear to be anything new on the chat line, but you can see again, this is our area of concern right here. Still a tornado warning in effect for this one small area of western areas of Terry County, the extreme east-southeastern areas of Yoakum County. Some intense lightning indicated with that, and I can kind of see that on the Zia Park tower cam every now and then. We'll adjust that. We'll try to show that in a few minutes, and you can give it a view of what it looks like from the New Mexico side, Hobbs, New Mexico. And that's probably more of this thunderstorm that it's seeing the lightning than anything, the one down in that region. But they are moving southeast. Obviously, they extend up the showers and storms in and around Level Land, and then they extend all the way from near Littlefield. They appear to be developing down towards the Littlefield area in Lamb County. They're continuing to work into the western areas of Hale County, west of Plainview, and all the way up in the Texas Panhandle along Interstate 27. So broken line of thunderstorms there. Anything new there, Shania?
Yes.
Yep. Make sure her battery hasn't gone down on her microphone. I'll continue to talk here for a second. Are you back yet? You need
Yes,
to change?
back
Okay.
in. We did get some good news from the Weather Service. They're going to allow that tornado warning to expire once we get to the 10 o'clock hour. So the storm is still one to watch with low to mid-level rotation, but they are still going to allow that warning to expire as of right now. So it doesn't mean that we're not still looking at a severe thunderstorm nonetheless, especially with the reports of hail associated with this storm system. Not getting any reports on the ground as far as that hail report. Radar indicated quarter-size hail though, and of course the 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Again, that tornado warning expires at 10 o'clock. The Weather Service does feel comfortable enough with letting that warning expire. So for the most part, we are going to continue to watch that storm in case it does try to spin right back up. Felt the need to put the warning on there because there was that stronger rotation associated with that storm system. So John, we can do one more recap and then wrap it up and go into the 10 o'clock.
That sounds good, and I assume, and I know you put the forecast together, so I'll just do the severe weather and I'll turn and let Shania give you the forecast for tomorrow. Again, fortunately, it looks like that's going to drop here in about a minute or so, the tornado warning portion. Be aware of the fact, could be winds still of 60 miles an hour or stronger. Gomez, the areas around Brownfield, west and southwestern areas of Terry County, and the extreme eastern areas of Yoakum County. Generally around Plains, activity diminishing. Severe thunderstorm north of Hobbs and well northwest of Seminole. Another severe thunderstorm along Interstate 27, and then moderate showers west of Plainview to Littlefield. They're increasing in coverage in Hockley County, so some of that activity may actually develop, make its way into Lubbock. So at this point, looks like tornado warning gone. I'm going to turn it over and we'll move into news.
Thank you, John. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Madeline Hall. We will go back to our weather team if anything else develops. Meanwhile, today, American flags were placed across the graves at the City of Lubbock Cemetery, honoring the more than 2,000 veterans laid to rest there. The 23rd annual service featured a 21-gun salute, the playing of taps, a moment of silence for fallen soldiers. Organizers say today is not about celebration, it's about remembering the men and women who never made it home.
You're not forgotten. You know, always an American, and this flag they're representing, saying, hey, look, this is an American that has actually gave their life for this flag.
Volunteers, veterans, and families stood side by side, not to celebrate, but to remember and to make sure those who gave everything are never forgotten. Meanwhile, President Trump also paid his respects at Arlington National Cemetery today. He marked Memorial Day by putting a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier, a tradition for U.S. presidents. KCBD's Washington Bureau correspondent Stetson Miller has more.
President Donald Trump started his day on Truth Social blasting his opponents before heading to Arlington National Cemetery for the annual commemoration to honor the fallen. President Trump wrote on Truth Social Monday morning, quote, "Happy Memorial Day to all, including the scum that spent the last 4 years trying to destroy our country through warped radical left minds who allowed 21 million people to illegally enter our country." Later, continuing with the annual Memorial Day tradition, He arrived at Arlington National Cemetery, flanked by Vice President J.D. Vance and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, to lay a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier before addressing a crowd of veterans and supporters.
Each of the service members who have made the supreme sacrifice for our nation has also left an unfillable void and an unbreakable silence in the lives of all who love them. For the families of the fallen, you feel the absence of your heroes every day.
The president's speech was mostly on message, honoring the fallen soldiers, sailors, Marines, and airmen who died in the service of the United States. But he did find a way to throw a jab at his predecessor.
Their valor gave us the freest, greatest, and most noble republic ever to exist on the face of the earth. A republic that I am fixing after a long and hard 4 years. That was a hard 4 years we went through. Who would let that happen? People pouring through our borders unchecked. People doing things that are indescribable.
Monday's trip to Arlington capped off the weekend that started with the president giving a highly political commencement address at the United States Military Academy at West Point. In Washington, I'm Stetson Miller.
Also in Washington, D.C., thousands of people lined Constitution Avenue today for a parade honoring the lives of service members who died defending our freedom. There were tributes nationwide, including at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. Paul Wagner takes a look.
It's Memorial Day, and it means to me to respect all of those who
the First Alert Forecast with Chief Meteorologist John Robinson.
Good evening. We do have a thunderstorm watch in effect for a large part of the South Plains, basically Brownfield, Lubbock, Plainview into the Texas Panhandle. The problem is we have had some warnings. We had a tornado warning briefly here down in the areas of Yoakum County. Fortunately, that has expired, but there is a thunderstorm warning in effect for the Brownfield area, one for the east of Hobbs and northwest of Seminole, and also the severe thunderstorm warning up here, as you can see, making its way towards Briscoe County. This is the storm that's been the strongest. Some rotation indicated earlier. That's why a tornado warning was issued with this storm. And you can still see a little bit of overall broad rotation with this storm. And it looks like there may be some large hail with that south of 380. So there's a warning, and keep in mind, these thunderstorm warnings are related to storms producing winds of maybe 60 to 70 miles an hour or even stronger on the very intense storms, both that storm and the one south. And it's a similar pattern here. And you can see a line of thunderstorms. In fact, they've intensified in coverage, not necessarily in strength, but that's in Hockley County, the southeastern corner of Lamb County, approaching Plainview. And then the warning, as you can see, in Swisher County, that is headed for the community of Silverton at this point. It's in the Crest community. And here we are talking about predominantly winds 60 miles an hour or stronger, maybe some hail and a few pockets or cores with this thunderstorm as it makes its way on into Briscoe County. Some other showers in and around and north of that, north of Kittiquay, well north of Turkey. Not a threat to that region yet, but there is the watch in effect there. As far as down around Plainview, storms extending all the way down to about Cotton Center. Looks like they're east of Littlefield. Some activity around Level End moving into that. Not severe. You don't see the yellow indicated there with our polygon. Nothing for Lubbock other than the thunderstorm watch that we're under. So we could have some intense weather here if it develops. The strongest storms again are occurring down to our south and southwest, and there may be some potential large hail there. Shania, I know you've been checking on that.
Yes, John, and for the most part, not seeing anything about that warning for the Terry County area. Ping pong size hail was that most recent update at about 10:07, so that was almost or just around 7 minutes ago. They were talking about that storm system. That's really the only thing we're tracking now, and coming from that earlier warning that we had to this scenario, things are looking much better for the Terry County area as of right now. Just some ping pong size hail.
All right, thanks so much there, Shania. So again, that's a breakdown on our severe weather. Remember the thunderstorm watch in effect as we look ahead at a tower cam here at 98th University. We'll see that lightning, look at the distance lightning there developing out in that region and indicating storms that are working their way into the South Plains, and look for that activity maybe to make it into Lubbock. We'll wait and see if it makes it to here or not. As we move ahead here, we'll see if we can't go to our rain cast. There we go. And it shows the activity generally here. It didn't pick up so well here, but it gives you the general idea. Shows those storms covering a large part of the South Plains over the next few hours into the early morning hours off the Caprock. There'll be some more isolated storms again tomorrow. It looks like there may be more west and southwestern areas. Then that will diminish, but there's actually a chance of storms off and on throughout the week, almost every afternoon and evening. 50s northwest, near 60 in Lubbock, 60 in Seminole, 60s and 50s off the Caprock. You're looking at highs tomorrow, 70s to around 80 degrees. Chance of thunderstorms across our region, as I mentioned, off and on from tomorrow. Maybe a little bit of a break coming up tomorrow. And we're looking for temperatures in the 80s, continuing at this point for the next couple of days, and 70s as well. I'm going to come back here to the 7-day forecast. I thought I crossed over to Madeline, but you can see here what is going on. 80 degrees on Tuesday, low 80s on Wednesday, some isolated thunderstorms tapering off and potentially through the weekend. It looks like it'll be heating up by then, but right now we still, Madeline, have those severe thunderstorms in the area.
Thank you, John. We appreciate you coming in on the holiday. It's been nearly a year since the town of Ruidoso was devastated by 2 wildfires and major flash flooding. The fires killed 2 people and